This Choircast podcast is brought to you by the Quantum Sayings of Jesus, Decoding the Lost Gospel of Thomas by Keith Giles, available now on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Buried around 340 AD, unearthed in 1945, and translated into English in 1959, the Gospel of Thomas has been studied, debated, and analyzed by dozens of scholars and historians searching for clues about the meaning of these cryptic sayings of Jesus. In the Quantum Sayings of Jesus, author Keith Giles offers a look at the text from the perspective of non-duality and divine oneness. Check it out on Amazon today.
Welcome to the Unbelief Podcast, your journey, actually our journey together beyond inherited beliefs to a spirituality that works for you. I'm your host, Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. We can fix that later, right? No? Damn.
It's another Drinks and Deconstruction episode. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a raspberry-infused water with also lemon.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not drinking any alcohol today because it's lunchtime, so
yeah.
we're pretending that you're not allowed to drink at lunchtime. I've got a Coke Zero because, cheers. Yeah. So we're talking about masturbation in the Bible, purity culture, all of that. And I know that you have a story, and I don't have any question that I feel like I could ask you to enter into that story in a way that would make me feel like I wasn't being really icky.
Yeah, that's
so
okay.
Voluntarily.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to talk about it. So masturbation in my testimony was such a big deal. So, when I was 14, I was in 9th grade. One of my classmates talked about the first concept of masturbation to me. I didn't even know what it was. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, you don't like touch yourself?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And I remember that night, whatever, I masturbated, and whatever feeling I felt, I was like, "Oh my God, I shouldn't be feeling this," right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I liked it. I mean, I was a 14-year-old girl. I enjoyed it.
It feels good.
Yes, it does feel good. So I would do it here and there. And then when I got into high school, I started masturbating a bit more frequently. And then I'd start watching pornography. And I remember, I always felt bad.
Yeah.
Every time I do it, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this, right? Because then I would go to church, and then I'd feel like I had this big secret I couldn't share with anybody.
Well, and because at church, you were in a full-on purity culture church.
Yeah.
So everything sexual was a sin.
Yeah.
If you weren't married.
Exactly. And so I was like, I can't tell anybody about this. But then also I felt so bad. And I would try, I would stop, and then I would start again until I think one day I just shared with someone from my church. She was kind of like a woman leader.
Yeah.
That I struggled with
right.
masturbation, right?
Which, one of the most normal things in the world that is very healthy was put on you as a struggle.
Yes. And so when I shared with her, she's like, "Oh, okay, so you have an addiction." Great.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
You have an addiction. We went from I masturbate. Did you tell her about the pornography?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I masturbate. I watch pornography. And then we went from there straight to addiction which is diagnoses kind of an addiction. When I think of addiction, I think of people drugged out on the street.
Yeah.
Alcoholic person who is absent from their family and right.
Well, it's the same thing, but just
apparently, it's the same thing.
It is the same thing, right?
And she was totally qualified from that one conversation.
Right. To be you have an addiction. So she recommended an app that I was on for years. It was supposed to, and I don't remember the name, but it was supposed to be for people who struggled with addiction. But other people on there had alcohol and drug addiction. And so,
right.
Yeah. And so I remember it would show you on the homepage how many days that you've been free from your addiction. And then if you fell, you'd have to then restart the number. So there's one point I was like, 365 days that I haven't masturbated. And then if I did, I'd have to go back to day number 0 because and it'd be a community you could talk to people I'm struggling today. I really feel, and so I remember I was being on this app and I was like, okay, trying I felt good when I saw the number go up so high. It's been this many times that I haven't. And then I would masturbate and then go back down to 0.
Ugh.
And this was for years. I was on this app, and she was on it too because she said she also struggled with it.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
okay, that's kind of awkward.
Yeah,
that's a little bit.
I would see
too much.
Yeah.
You would see her on that app?
Because you could see people's profile and see how many days
Oh my
free
gosh.
they were.
Like you.
Yeah.
You're leader at church.
Yeah.
You could go. You didn't have to friend them. You just go to anybody.
Well, we friended each other on the app. Yeah.
She friended a teenager.
Yeah.
How old?
Yeah.
16?
I was
15?
Yeah, 15, 16.
15-year-old on an app that revealed when she masturbated?
Yeah. So I would see like, she was doing better than me, or
grossly inappropriate behavior. Like that is like, I don't even know. Like I've been through, like, as a clergy person, I go through sexual ethics training all the time. Like it is very regular that you have to do it, because a lot of, like, it's important. Boundary training, all that kind of stuff is really important. Also, the insurance companies make that happen because of all the scandals and awful things. But like, there is none of those trainings that would come close to saying that was in any way okay. Wow.
I don't know. It was normal to me at the time.
So you would see that about her.
I would see it on her profile.
And she would see it about you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so I think she'd be like, praying for you, or like, it was trying to be a way to keep each other accountable, and like, let's pray. Or like, we would also start doing like devotionals on the Bible app together. Like, trying to help you, not engage in your addiction. And so, that became a huge part of my story. I remember, like, before I went to college, I was like, okay, I'm so tired of like struggling with this. I went and bought a journal, and I was like, I'm going to start journaling my prayers so that I become more holy, and I stop like masturbating and watching porn or whatever. And when I went to college, I remember I went to Bible study, and like, they're like, anyone here want to rededicate their life to God or feel like they've fallen away? And like, of course I raised my hand. I was like, I struggle with X, Y, and Z. I got prayed over. And then that's when I started like reading my Bible more often. And I felt like my God freed me of my desires. But however, it wasn't free. I would still masturbate here and there.
Well, because you are a human being.
Yeah. But I did, it was way like, it would be a while. So yeah. But then when I was in college, now, like, when I got asked to say my story, one of them was at Crew, like, it's called Crew Real Life, Share Your Real Life Story. I remember I put, oh my God, yeah.
Oh, geez.
So I had to write up a whole testimony. So I was like, okay, it's part of my testimony that God freed me of my addiction. I have to talk about this.
Your addiction to masturbation and pornography.
Yes.
Right.
So I wrote in there, like, I used to be a pornography and masturbation addict, and I remember, and I wrote the whole thing, and God, and blah blah blah. And one of the crew leaders checked over my testimony. She's like, you can't really say the word masturbation because it's going to probably trigger people, so like, remove it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So okay, also I just want to say this. It is so deeply wrong that you were given that label of addict in high school for something that is very normal by someone who is in no way qualified to even say anything about that. Yeah. To the point that, like, that was part of your identity.
It really was.
That is so awful. And I just want to name that. Yeah. That's not okay. It was deeply wrong. And it was just deeply wrong.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, for the longest, up and even until like now, I still have like issues with all that, But it was, I said it multiple times in my testimony. It wasn't just testimonies that I said in front of people. When I was doing a missions trip, I had to share with 30. We all of us intimately would share our testimonies. And so I would say, I used to struggle with this. God freed me out of it.
You would say this in like,
men and women. It was so awkward to talk about it too, because like, it's kind of taboo. But
and it was expected.
Yes,
that you would talk about that specific part of your life.
Well, you have to bring up everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends at that little intimate 30 people missions trip talked about how he struggled with same-sex attraction.
Oh no.
And like that was, I felt so bad. And like his ex-girlfriend was there, and she got mad at him and stuff. No. She's like, you didn't tell me. I'm like, bro, he just shared something intimate. Can you give him a sec? Like,
wow.
Yeah, it was just very messy. Like, why are we oversharing? It's always like, spell out your dirty laundry in front of, like, Christians love to do that.
It feels like, I don't know, like, just like voyeuristic, like, I don't know. It just feels not okay.
Yeah. And again, it wasn't just in front of people. When I would date someone, I'd have to share my story. Like, oh, I struggled with this. Just,
when? Like at the beginning?
Yeah, that's what was like. That was like what you're supposed to do. Like
What?
when you go on a date with someone, and be like, "So, what's your testimony?" Yeah,
And that means like I've got to spill all my guts?
yeah, because then they can decide if they want to continue to date you or not, and it's better to decide this
Wow.
early.
This is awful.
And I remember one of the guys I shared with him. He's like, "Oh, I don't like your like I don't like that you said that," and so I think he was like, "I'm not interested in." Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, crazy stuff.
So, and like 30 people, was that the max? I'm just curious.
No, the biggest crowd I've shared it in front of was 400 people.
400 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that feel in the moment?
Oh, I mean, I was nervous to share
Yeah.
my story, and then at the end, everyone clapped for me. So I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't like, it's an awkward thing to say, and then that was only one line. Then I spoke about the rest of my story and what God did in my life. But yeah, I mean, it's just awkward because there's like men and women. Like now they know that I've.
Well, it's such a private thing, and it was treated as a sin.
Yeah.
Right. I think that maybe there's part of me that wants to be like, I feel like it might be helpful for more people to just, feel comfortable talking about that.
Yeah.
In an appropriate way and settings and that kind of stuff, just because it doesn't need to be taboo, and the taboo of it is like really unhelpful. But there's a verse in the Bible.
Oh.
Right. That was used to tell, or the passage that was used to say that like this is a sin.
Okay.
So
yes, I
will
have
you
it.
read that verse from? And we're reading from the New Revised Standard Updated Edition, which is what academics say is the most reliable English translation right now.
Cool. So the verses, just so people know, it's Genesis 38, verse 8 to 10 that I'm going to read. So it says, "Then Judah said to Onan, 'Go into your brother's wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her. Raise up offspring for your brother.' But since Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, he spilled his semen on the ground whenever he went into his brother's wife, so that he would not give offspring to his brother. What he did was displeasing in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also."
Okay. I mean, okay. So this.
God.
So if you read it,
Yeah.
on the face of it, it sounds like God killed Onan, not for masturbation,
Yeah.
right? But for pulling out early.
Yeah.
But for us, it was masturbation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what it was.
Right.
Okay, so in the Bible, in the Old Testament, there was this idea. There was something called fictive kinship. So it's a very patriarchal culture. Women can't own things, and if a husband dies, the oldest male sort of inherits the things, takes over, and is responsible for caring for his mom, make sure she has all the things that she needs and is taken care of and all that stuff in the way that a father would. However, sometimes men die before producing a male offspring.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a problem in the ancient world when you have this very patriarchal culture. It's a problem that you have to solve. And in the Bible, there are verses that say basically the way they dealt with it in that ancient Semitic culture was that if that happened, if a man died and a married man died and his spouse had not had a male child, then the closest male relative, so in this case the brother-in-law, so it's the brother marries the wife, this brother dies, this other brother, they're in the same family, is married, but he has to sleep with his brother's widow. in order to produce a male heir. And when he does that, the male heir will inherit the things and the problem is solved. Even though it's a baby, the mom will take care of and will like manage all the stuff for the baby. So that's what's going on there. Okay, so in this setting, Onan's father, when Onan's brother dies, Onan's father says, okay, you know the rules. You have to sleep with her and produce a male heir. Because if he didn't, she's out of luck. She's on the street. She doesn't own anything. There's nothing in society that ultimately protects her. Right. Hopefully she's got a gracious family. But like there's nothing in the rules that protects her. So that's his job. And what he does is he prevents her from having a male heir. And that is the sin.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty horrible thing. Like, I mean, the way it's that culture, I'm not going to make judgments on that culture right now. But basically, if you do something, or if you refuse to do something that will stop your brother's widow from like being destitute on the street, that's a horrible thing to refuse to do that. Yeah. And so and sex in this culture was not a mutual thing. It's something, the way that Dan McClellan says it, is something that an active sexual agent does to a passive sexual object, right? So it wasn't like he was cheating on his wife and it felt like that. Like it was his job. And that's the sin. Yeah. And that's why, God puts him to death, which still, that seems a little extreme. Right. But it's not talking about masturbation. Right. It's not talking about pulling out early. Right. It's talking about contraception. It's not talking about any of that. And this is this is the verse. Yeah. This is the verse that people use. And it's just not okay.
Yeah. The context you gave makes way more sense than what people were interpreting this before to be. Like, right. Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't have to have any source except the Bible to figure that out. Yeah. Right. And I don't expect an average person to read all of the biblical laws and then go back and apply them to the narrative here. That's the responsibility of people whose full-time job that is to communicate that. That's the responsibility of a pastor to make that effort. But it's not talking about that. It's just not.
That's nice that's been another passage taken out of context.
Right. But how does that hit for you?
So I'm semi-familiar with this passage. Is that what you said it? I remember people talking about, God killed someone for masturbating. Yeah. And so this wasn't honed in my, we used other verses to talk about why we should remain pure and not do those things. I'm not surprised. I feel like the more I deconstruct, the more I hear about stuff this was not the context, but our dogma has said that it is. Right. So
I want to, I'm not a therapist. Okay. Yeah. I don't ever claim to be a therapist. I'm not a therapist. Okay. I'm not trained in therapy. I'm not trained in psychological diagnoses. Yeah. None of that. However, there are manuals, there are psychological manuals that are used to diagnose people that, again, you can't fully use them, but they can help you understand what medical professionals define as addiction, for example. Okay. Now, pornography addiction. So there's two. In America, because Americans have to be different and extra, we have something called the DSM, and it's updated every once in a while. And then let me just make sure I get this right. I've got it over here. And then
and what does DSM stand for?
Diagnostic. Come on. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Okay. And then the ICD is what's used in Europe and most of the world. And that is the International Classification of Diseases. Okay. Okay. So if they're important for a number of reasons. It's standardized. It's like academic consensus. Smart people get in a room and make a decision as to where the line is. And it's important also for insurance, because once you are diagnosed with if you've got a diagnosable thing, then insurance will pay for medicine, whatever.
Right.
Okay. So the DSM does not classify pornography or masturbation in any way as addiction.
Oh.
And
That's nice.
And so the DSM did and there's also like compulsive behaviors, and there was some debate in the most recent, when they're making the most recent revision about a compulsive sexual behavior disorder. They did not include that in the DSM. However, the ICD does have compulsive sexual behavior disorder, which is CSBD. CSBD. And so basically it's any sexual behavior, pornography use, masturbation, having sex, whatever it is. And it has a criteria for whether or not this sexual behavior is considered a compulsive sexual behavior disorder, right? It's a problem. Now, anything that like makes your life difficult, uncomfortable, like that's why you go to a therapist. They can help you process it. But unless you meet these criteria, they're not going to diagnose you as having this disorder, as reaching that level, right? Yeah. And I would say, for me, at least in my head, this is when you say addiction. Right. Addiction is like this thing that is wrecking your life, and that like you need treatment. You need to go to AA. You need to whatever it is. Right. So I've got it right here.
Okay.
The diagnostic criteria.
Please.
And are you okay with answering these on a podcast?
100%. Please go ahead.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 diagnostic criteria. And just so we know, the requirement is that you meet all 6.
Okay.
You have to have all of them in order to have CSBD.
Okay.
Right, you ready? Number 1, a persistent pattern of failure to control intense, repetitive sexual impulses or urges resulting in repetitive sexual behavior. So it could be masturbation, pornography use, whatever.
No.
Okay. No. So already you don't have it, but just for the sake of everybody who's listening and watching live, the next one is the sexual behavior becomes a central focus of a person's life, leading to neglect of health, personal care, or other. So like so much a focus of your life that you were neglecting your health, your personal care, or other interests.
No.
Right. You didn't neglect. You didn't stop eating because
I continued.
Okay. So right now we're 0 for 2.
Okay.
Continued sexual behavior despite negative consequences, relational distress, work problems, that kind of thing.
No.
Okay, that's 0 for 3.
Okay.
Repeated unsuccessful efforts to control or significantly reduce the behavior.
No.
So 0 for 4. Engaging in sexual behavior as a coping mechanism for negative mood states or stress.
I'll say yes.
Yes. Okay. So 1 for 5. Mm-hmm. Duration. Symptoms must be present for at least 6 months and cause significant distress or impairment in important areas of functioning. So
I don't think
6 months of significant distress or impairment in important areas of functioning.
I wasn't. No.
Okay. No. So out of the 6 criteria, that it's required to have all 6.
Yeah.
You have 1. And this is what really hurts me on your behalf.
Yeah.
Is because so long, and it's not just you. Like you are present. You're telling a story that is not just your story.
Yeah.
It's so many people's story, and having that label and seeing yourself as this sort of deranged, perverted.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's why I believed all the sermons I watched about being wicked and depraved. I'm like, yes, I am, because I have this problem. And why can't I just not masturbate so that I could be more holy?
Yeah.
You know, that's, I mean, I know like the facts now. And like, you know, when I talked to my partner about it, he was like, it just sounds like you masturbated at a regular amount of time.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I never thought about it that way. You know, now I'm hearing this and I'm like, that makes sense. I still like, I can't, I to this day, I feel like I can't masturbate. I have such trauma around it, and like, I don't want to watch porn. I'm like, I'm going to become an addict again, even though I know I clearly was not.
Right.
Still.
Well, and that's why we go to therapy, right?
Yeah.
Because like, this is the kind of long-term damage it does. Yeah. Because masturbation is a very healthy thing. And I don't want you to feel like it's happening again that I'm saying you're unhealthy.
No. Yeah.
I'm trying to give you grace and permission to let go of the thing.
Yeah.
But like the average, like it's not that people randomly masturbate.
Right.
The average for men is 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And the average for women is twice a week.
Yeah.
So it's not just like this random, it's like a common part of life.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what's really particularly sad to me. I experienced a similar thing. I was never called an addict.
Yeah.
But similar things that I learned, my own life, like all of the things, like I felt really bad all the time for a long, long time, for decades.
Yeah.
And and so it's just sad that it's like it's peddled as addiction when, I mean, yes, anything can become a problem. And these are the same kind of criteria they have for like alcoholism, that kind of things.
Right.
Like it's like, can you say like, I'm not going to drink this week and not drink? Yeah. Okay. You're probably not an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Is it like affecting your work? No, probably not an alcoholic. Do you binge drink? No, probably not. Like, and you have to, so it's like anything can be a problem, but this just wasn't one.
Yeah. I really thought I like was severely like just deeply troubled.
And I'm so sorry for that.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's not
I just
really
feel
okay,
like it's not okay, but I just feel like on behalf of religion, somebody should own up and say, I'm sorry, that shouldn't.
No, I appreciate that. You know, you have to really, in the deconstruction, one thing I've enjoyed is really working through mentalities that I had that I'm realizing like actually that wasn't healthy, and like those are one of the things that I'm working through still. Right. You know, and it is unfortunate. I know other people struggle. I can stop saying struggle. Yeah. People masturbate and then don't want to talk about it. And I remember in my circle, like I'm like, so. Because I always thought I was alone in this. I'm like, does anybody else do this? Or are they just not talking about it? And eventually when I would ask some girls, they'd be like, yeah, you know, I struggle with it, but I don't do that anymore. Like oh, they stopped. Or like I'm like, so do men don't talk about it either. Right, so I'm like, am I the only one? That's how I felt. I just felt like I was the only one.
And when I have, I am in a lot more non-church spaces. I exist in a lot of queer spaces. And I find that the further, like, masturbation is like a thing that people say, I just had to take care of it. I just was like I today, or like I've seen people on stage talk about it, and I think that removing the taboo like that is an important part of it, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with masturbation.
No, that's so true. And I feel like if we didn't have the taboo, it would be talked about, and we would learn how to become healthier beings instead of suppressing our own desires. Because it's not healthy for someone to be praying, God, take away my sex drive, take away me being turned on, take it all away so that I'm not defiling you like that.
Because it has long-term negative effects that you yourself.
Yeah.
You have any other questions?
I was actually going to ask, like, what do you like? Do you think there are any like ethical issues with like porn? Corn. Sorry.
Corn.
Corn.
Oh, jeez. It's so the algorithm stuff is so okay. So This is an interesting question.
Yeah.
Because there's a debate about that.
Yeah.
In religious circles and in progressive religious circles. In progressive religious circles, there's less and less of a debate. There's seems to be much more of a consensus.
Yeah.
And so let me sort of give that side of it, because I think that there are problems with pornography is like well trodden ground that people can, it's easy. Like they've probably heard that before, but like this progressive religious take is is different. And I just find that progressive religious ideas are not as, are not as dramatic. They don't get the same voice in our culture, even though a lot of people are there.
Yeah.
So the ethics are, the ethics really center around the performers. Now, if you believe that sex is bad, if you believe that that it's only something to even be shared between a husband and a wife, in a more conservative space, then the ethics generally lead you to a place where you say, like, watching another person is problematic. Normally it would be sinful, but like on the other side, it really generally focuses on the performers.
Okay. And
that there are people who are forced into that, or have things shared against their consent, right? So like you are with a partner, you take a video, and then it's revenge corn, right? Yeah. And they post it, and it's not okay, and you feel, you're betrayed, you're exposed, all that kind of stuff. So those ethical concerns, I think, is important, but important to put them in context. So I've known, and I currently know a couple of people who are adult content creators. I am not an adult content creator. Let me make that clear. Yeah. But all the people that I have known it's not been something that they felt like they were coerced into. Yeah. It's not something that they felt like they did out of like sort of systemic problems. Like, I got to a place where this was my only option. Right. That was not the case. All of the people that I have known, and of course I'm a white male in America. There's a lot of privilege, and my tribe of people that I've had access to, right? There's a lot of sample bias here. So I'm not extrapolating this to everything, but I'm just saying, I know a number of people, and they basically found there's something that they loved doing that they could make money at. Yeah. And so they got an OnlyFans, whatever, and they had a Twitter. They have a Twitter, like they have all the things that whole ecosystem, and they made good money. And some of them still do it. Some of them transitioned out of that. One of them paid for their college with it, and like they wanted to be a lawyer, but this was an easy way, a fun way to make a good amount of money. Yeah. Now there are people. 100% are people who are trafficked in that world, who are made to do it, or are at a place where they do feel like that's their only option, or somebody sort of manipulates them into that. That is the case, and that's wrong for that to happen. It's important, though, and so this sort of progressive religious take would say it's important to put that in context, right? And so if you look at the agriculture industry, the food that we eat, there are people that are trafficked into that industry to harvest our baby spinach.
Yeah.
Right? And that is really wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you abstain from eating and you eating food that you get from a grocery store and you only grow your own food. That's an option.
Yeah.
The garment industry, there are people who are trafficked and enslaved that made probably this t-shirt, right? This is just a random t-shirt that was probably made by in some way and it is wrong. Yeah. Deeply wrong. But and this is an interesting thing. Just avoiding making your own clothes is a thing that you can do, but making your own clothes actually doesn't stop the problem.
Right.
Like cooking, or like growing your own food doesn't stop the problem.
Right.
And making this like huge categorical boycott actually doesn't impact the problem. If the problem is trafficking, then you need to call out trafficking. You need to produce ways to report trafficking. You need to like all of these things so that the trafficking is dealt with.
Yeah.
In any industry, including the adult industry. And same thing with the revenge stuff.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have, if you don't talk about it, if you don't deal with the actual problem is not the adult content creation.
Yeah.
The problem is the revenge thing.
Yeah.
So you've got to, but if you don't talk about it, if you just say like, don't watch any of it, then we aren't addressing the problem.
Right.
And so there is an ethical concern with an all-out boycott as well.
Right. Because
that means that you aren't engaging in the actual problems. You aren't fixing the actual problems. So, so I would say that it's your own ethics. Like, do you feel like you can, this is inherently wrong? Because like, just like there's ethical garment makers, there's ethical, there's ways to find out, and you can find out ethical food sources, and you can even find out ethical adult content sources. There are places that specialize in that. You can choose those routes, and I think it's also something that it's really also a relational thing.
Yeah,
talking to your partner and saying like, how do you feel about that? How do I feel about that? Like, what feels okay and what feels not okay? Because for some people, it's a really great and healthy part of their relationship.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's really not. And it would represent a violation of that relationship to engage in that. And so I think the ethical standards really lie in those realms.
Yeah.
And in like personally how you feel. So it's like a self ethic, like, am I causing myself to feel I'm doing something wrong? Like, then I should not. And maybe I should go to therapy too. But like, yeah. Okay. So we're going to do content recommendation. So our little end segment is like, we did one that was like, music that will lead you astray.
Yeah.
I recommended a Harry Potter series. We're going to do that this time, but with movies that like you would be told, or not necessarily movies, but like media that you would have been told you were going to hell. Not because it's pornography, but because like I was around people who were like, if there's nudity, it's wrong.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? If there's a sex scene, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like that's basically pornography is what they would say. So do you have something that will lead them astray?
Yes, I have one movie that does have nudity in it, and it's called The Vow. I'm not sure if people have seen it. It has Channing Tatum in it. And it's a really beautiful love story. It's actually quite sad, but it's really good though. And I don't want to give too much away. He has a wife, they fell in love, and then she gets into a car accident. She loses her memories for the past 5 years. So that's including her relationship
Right.
with Channing Tatum.
Oh, wow.
And so the whole movie is him kind of trying to fall back in love, like have his wife fall back in love with him. And it's
that sounds so beautiful.
It's really beautiful movie, but
Yeah.
it would have been a big no because there's a scene where Channing
for
Tatum's
sure.
naked.
Right.
So.
Oh, yeah. I there's a show that I've recently gotten into called Outlander. Outlander is it's this interesting like sci-fi / like I don't know what it's called when it's like a period piece in like the Middle Ages kind of thing. Like it kind of feels like Game of Thrones ish.
Okay.
But there's this like basically a woman from the future touches these old rocks.
Okay.
And she ends up going back in time.
Oh.
And then eventually she goes forward in time. And like, it's a really just interesting, that whole dynamic is really interesting. And there's some really, really hot, like as in, sensual scenes that you would not have been allowed to see.
Lovely.
And Jamie is one of the characters, has the best butt on TV, right? Well,
great recommendation.
Maybe second best.
Yeah.
Because there's this movie. There's this movie that really messed me up.
Yeah.
Like I had not understood a lot of things about myself when this happened. But it's this movie, The Passion of the Christ, by Mel Gibson,
I've seen it.
which is like violent, or just horrifically violent depiction of the crucifixion. And then you get all the way through. It's awful violence, awful, like blood, gore, all the things. And then at the end, it's the Jesus story, the crucifixion. There is a brief moment of the resurrection where Jesus, you don't see all of him, but he like walks by the camera. You see the hole in his hand and you see his naked butt, and it's just actor Jim Caviezel. But like the first time I saw that, I was like, can we rewind that for just a second? But it made me, he has got a great butt. And but it's like really problematic because it's Jesus' butt, and like I didn't really know what to do with that. So I'm not recommending The Passion of the Christ. I'm recommending Outlander.
Perfect.
Okay. Our not church community. You can join that by going to skepticpastor.com, or sorry, patreon.com/skepticpastor, patreon.com/skepticpastor, $3 a month. We charge is pay for what you get in this faith community because we've all been traumatized around people manipulating us out of money. So $3 a month will get you part of that community. It's really respectful, all kinds of spiritual people and seekers. And I just use the word seekers. That gives me the ick. Yeah. So not like that. Like spiritual people who are wanting to engage with God and with spirituality. I hope to see you there. All right.
That's it. That's the podcast. Shout out to the Choir Network, to Patheos, to Matthew and Keith, who make everything happen. Now, get out of here. Go do something to make the world a better place. Okay? We'll see you next time.